Please let me know if you can hear me well and if you see my screen, and we will start. Okay, thank you, Alina. All good. So yeah, let's start. I hope that some more people will join us today. So yeah, welcome to DATADRIVE, the brainstorming session, the masterclass about Google Analytics. So the initial idea of this masterclass was tested during Ride.Right.Now, our conference, our ride-hailing conference that we had this year in Dubai in February. But unfortunately, we didn't really have enough time to really talk about all the points to cover everything. So yeah, let's hope that we will do it today. And the difference with what we had in Dubai is that we were really focusing very much on scaling. But right now, I want to present more Google Analytics that we have. So, and I want to give you information about how you can use Google Analytics for your company, for your business, which data you can get from there, which metrics, what is important for you. So this is one goal. And another goal, I don't know if it's going to happen today, but let's see if you will be active enough. We will do some brainstorming. I'm a huge believer in co-creation, especially when we see people from different background, from different countries, of different mentality. It always brings a lot of cool ideas. And yeah, let's see if you're going to be active, if you're open to answer my questions. That's going to be amazing. So we will try it. And during the presentation, I'm going to ask questions and you will be allowed to speak. But let's just go to the next point. So the next slide, a little bit about rules, because here we have quite some people. And as I said, you will be allowed to speak. Please remember to stay muted unless you are invited to speak. Once I ask questions that I'm hoping you will answer, please raise your hand before starting to speak, or you can just put your answers in the chat. Both options are available. And yeah, please remember that we respect all opinions. And when it comes to what is right, what is wrong, there is nothing really right or wrong, because we all have different backgrounds. We all have companies in different countries, in different cities. We are doing different services. So it will be different for everyone. And I'm going to mention it a bit later. So a little bit about myself. So my name is Liza. I've been working as a lead digital marketer. I spent 10 years, more than 10 years actually, in different international IT companies. And I've been working for more than 7 years already with Onde. So quite a while for me. So that's a bit about me. And let's start with our plan. So basically we have the introduction. That's what I'm doing right now, introducing you the workshop. Then we will have sorry, someone is, yeah. So we will have a little bit information about why Google Analytics, why we use it at Onde, why all our partners use Google Analytics at Onde, and how to actually use it, which information you can get. Then we'll just go with the flow. So to start with, I want to say that context is everything. And I'm just getting back to my point that there is no right or wrong in most cases. Okay, if we have someone, if we have like, okay, I'm sorry, some other people are joining here. So I'm just gonna let everyone in. Hello, guys, and welcome here. We started already with the workshop. Just want to briefly introduce what we're talking about for the newcomers. We are talking about Google Analytics and how you can use Google Analytics for your companies. So, and I was talking about context. I was talking that actually, like, because we will discuss something, I want to highlight that because we all have different background, and because we operate in different countries, and we have different audience, and everything around us is different. The data that we will see today and the metrics that we will see today is very different for everyone, and you cannot have the same numbers, just because of the context, because of your operational area, etc., etc. So please remember it, and just be aware. Don't look for the answers that is, oh yeah, like this number is the right answer here, and this is what you should get. No, it's not like that. It does not work like that. But I'm going to mention what is better for you, what is like less good for you. So we'll just get to this point. So this is about context. Now let's start talking about Google Analytics, why everyone is using Google Analytics, why it's such a popular tool, and why we use it at Onde. First of all, it's kind of a standard tool. It's an industry standard. It's like a standard for everyone. Like everyone is using Google Analytics if they have their website, if they have their mobile applications. It's free. You don't need to pay anything for this tool. And of course, it's like a free tool for all our customers. Everyone gets this with their applications. It does provide quite complex and comprehensive overview of different data, like all the information about your users, about your operation, like just it's there, and you can get this information. Of course, you can use it with Google Ads when you're doing your marketing campaigns, which is also very important. It is basically a source for Firebase. Like Firebase gets all the data from Google Analytics, and you can basically see this in Firebase. And with Firebase, our clients are able to send push notifications to customers. And yeah, it's just like really a lot of features, and yeah, why not to use it? But of course, like Google Analytics is not the only tool that companies and ride-hailing platforms and ride-hailing apps can use. Like, for example, we do provide an option for our customers to use also AppsFlyer. This is a good tool, but it is a paid tool. You cannot use it for free. It does allow you to use it for free for like some time, but you will need to pay for it. So if you're ready to pay, AppsFlyer is a really good option, and we can help you with the setup. But in general, like Google Analytics, you just have it there. So let's go. Let's talk about questions, like which questions Google Analytics basically can help you to answer. First of all, where you are at your journey, like how many users you have, who they are, if you plan to grow or scale, which market you can choose to do that. Are you able to grow in your own market, or you maybe need to consider something else? Then, of course, who is your audience? Who these people are, what are their interests, where they are from, like what is their age, which devices they're using, like everything. The next thing is, of course, how you plan to scale, grow, basically your strategy. It can help you to give some information about what you can improve in your operation, where you need to look in order to improve something. So that's what we can learn with Google Analytics. And also, like, what you plan to do, basically your tactics, which channels to use. Do you want to grow your pay-per-click advertising? Do you want to use maybe some organic options and use and go with App Store optimization? So all the different things can be, and all the different questions can be answered with Google Analytics. So let's go to setup. First of all, when you go to setup, I mean, I'm pretty sure like if you try to use Google Analytics, you know how to use it and you know how to do this, but just, I just want to cover like these basics. First of all, what do we need? We need reports. This is the main tab that you will be using. You will be using reports because it does provide all the information. And basically then once you get to reports, you need to choose the kind of the timeline, the data about like from which period of time you want to get the data. Okay, Do you want to look into 1 month? Do you want to look in the data within like the last 7 days? Whatever is optimal for you, you need to choose it, because yeah, you might not want to look at like the default option that Google Analytics provides when you go there. Then another important thing that I want to highlight, because some people might miss it, it is not that obvious, okay? Like by default, when you get to Google Analytics, the reports that you will see will be for all users. Meaning, when it comes to Onde, it means that basically you will see the data about your drivers and passengers all at once. And you don't want that, right? So usually like you want to kind of separate these audiences, because those are two very different audiences. And in order to separate them, you just go to, you click on that button, which is like all users, basically showing that, yeah, you're right now viewing all users. And you need to look for the dimension that is called stream name. And once you find the stream name, you can really choose the applications. Like either you are looking at the passenger apps only and you choose passenger iOS, passenger Android, or you want to look at the behavior, at the data from your drivers. That's what you choose, and yeah, you get there. So let's start with questions. Let's just go through the questions that I mentioned that Google Analytics can help to answer. And I'm gonna like explain how in particular, how Google Analytics can really help you with that, which metrics you should look into when you answer a specific question. And for the first ones that where you are at the market and which market to choose, it is really important to look at users, okay? At the number of new users, at the number of users that you already have, at the growth rate. It is really, really important to look at the growth rate. And of course, you want to compare like the number of users and new users for a certain time period and to see whether you're growing, not growing. And another thing, like, let's just go to the next screen, where you will see it better. So what do you want to do? First of all, in order to understand which market you have, which size of the market, which piece of the market you have, you need to, of course, compare the users that you have with the number of users from the whole market. And here, what you can do. So, because here you have only your users, right? Google Analytics does not provide you any information about the whole market. So what can you do? You can go either to some websites like statista.com. They do provide all the information about users. They do really have a very good statistics, which is accessible for free for different markets, for ride-hailing market. So that's where you can get this information. And also, like, I'm going to tell you a little bit of a trick that we have at Onde. So when we are like starting the campaign, or we want to understand which size of the market our partner has, we might want to check the whole market size based on the number of users of social networks that are popular in this country. Facebook is a very popular option in many countries. Statistics on like the users on Facebook, you will probably need those who use like mobile applications. You will need, of course, users of a certain age. And this is the statistics that is available, okay? There are a lot of research about Facebook users, about social media users, just a lot of them, okay? So it's quite easy to find the number of the users, and the number of these users is basically like the size of your market, because you can imagine that pretty much everyone who is using like a popular social network in your region is your potential customer at a certain age, of course. That's what you can do. Or you can also try and just create a Facebook campaign. You don't really need to really launch a campaign like this PPC campaign, pay-per-click advertising campaign, in order to get this number. But when you will set up the campaign And when you will choose like all these, dimensions about your audience, what you're looking for, like men, women, like age, like maybe even interest, if you consider this important to your market, it will show you approximate numbers. So this is how you understand the size of the whole market. And then you compare the number of your users with the size of the market. And then you can actually see which position you have right now and whether there is any option for you to grow. And another thing that can really help you to understand this is the growth rate. Because when the company reaches a certain level on the market and it gets like, it already has a lot of clients, the growth rate slows down. Really, you will never see these numbers. Like here we have like 19% the growth rate for new users. You will never see this if the market is full, if you get like everything, if you like have a very strong position and there is nowhere to grow in your market. So you will never see these numbers. You will see like 1% at max. Okay, you will not see this. So that's just to give you the idea. So based on these numbers, we can tell that this particular client, we cannot say anything about his position in the market, but we can say that there is still a chance to grow and there is still some space to grow for this particular client. So let's go to the next one. If we're talking about users, of course, we want to know who they are, where they're from, like what they like, which devices they use, which operation systems they use, what their interests are, like all this different information. And again, Google Analytics can help us to do that, can help us to learn a little bit more about our users. And we do have some questions from our clients. Can we see like cities our users are from? And yes, you can see that. It can be complicated with app stores, but with Google Analytics, yeah, it's quite easy. You just check users by geography and you see all the different cities with your users. Then, of course, the age. What is the age of your users? And like here, for example, we really see a very strong, a very like a large part of users of the age of 25, 34, which makes a lot of sense. Okay, this is like quite an active age. People have money, people are able to use taxi. But here, because I announced this as a brainstorming session that we will try to brainstorm, and I want you to try to brainstorm. So let's just think about the following thing. So let's imagine that you already have this type of users, so 25, 34, and you know that you reach the maximum and you cannot grow this audience of the age of 25, 34 any longer. There is nowhere to grow, but you have like some other options of 18, 24, 35, 44. What is the audience? What is the next audience that you would like to grow? Where would you go based on your experience? And this is the chance for you to share your opinion either in the chat or again, please raise your hand and don't be afraid to speak. We'll just try that. If anyone has anything to say, please feel free. I'm going to give you some time. So no one wants to share their opinion. Okay, I'm gonna like share my opinion. Well, there are different options can be really. First of all, this audience of 18-24, it's quite a big one already, right? So we can see that, this is the second audience by size. So we can go there as well. It depends on the country, but in certain countries, like these young people, they do have money, and because these people, they will go to work, they will start working pretty soon. This is the audience you might be interested in, because like in a couple of years, like 3-4 years, this will be the paying audience for you, and this will be the audience that has money. But you can also choose, for example, the audience of 35 and 44, because this is the audience that already now has money. And if, for example, you tend to go for, I don't know, more expensive services and some VIP services, you might want to go to this particular audience and grow the audience of 35, 44. So you can just really like try and, you know, put more efforts into getting this audience. All right, and this is again actually something that you can check with Google Analytics. You can check their interests, and basically that's where we're going to. So basically we have here all the different interests, right? So this is something that Google Analytics is telling us. First of all, it can show, of course, like some gender, how many users are female, how many users are male. Here we have like 50-50, no big difference. In terms of the interest, we can see that they're into media and entertainment. We have the largest amount of users here. They also shoppers. They also into technologies, well, obviously, because they probably have the applications and they use their mobile phones quite actively. They also into sport and fitness. They also into healthy stuff. So what can you do here if you see this picture, for example? You can think about, if your audience likes to go shopping, you can actually like get in touch with some shopping centers in your area. You can partner with them. You can offer them like, I don't know, like you can communicate with them. You can even like talk about some discounts for your users in some shops, or you can really talk to administration. And if, for example, administration is helping their clients to get a taxi, in some cases they help, and you can like suggest that, okay, let's partner, and you will just call us and we will provide the cars for your shoppers. Okay, I'm sorry, someone else is here. I just want to, yep. So yeah, that's what you can do here. Or if they're into sport, I'm sorry, if they are into sports and fitness, again, partner with fitness club or launch a campaign that is targeting your audience. Know that they're like into sports, you know, you can always, I don't know, like think about like some sports events in your area, like, I don't know, large like football games. Partner with organizers of these football games, or just launch the advertising that is highlighting their passion for sport. So that's what you can do. All the different options here, like really you can learn a lot about your audience, and this is very important because this will give you a picture of your user. You will basically see your user in front of you, and based on that picture, you will be able to understand who this person is, which channels this person is using, like where you can get this user from. Okay, so that's quite a good thing to know that. Then users by platforms, of course, like here we have Android and iOS. Again, if we're talking about like, it really depends. Okay, so we cannot say that based on this picture, we're doing everything right. Okay, so we can say that we do have a lot of users from Android. Do we know that iOS users is all we can get, or there are more iOS users in the market and you just don't reach it? This is something that you need to look again at statistics, how many users in your area use Android and iOS. And if, for example, it justifies the numbers that you see here, that you know that in your particular area, people use Android phones, Android devices, sure, like there is no point for you to invest in iOS users, right? There is not even need probably to launch some advertising campaigns on iOS users, especially keeping in mind they're usually quite expensive. But if you see that, for example, in your area, Android and iOS users are like 50-50, so we have like 50% Android users and 50% iOS users, and you see this picture, of course you want to improve it. iOS users, they they tend to pay more sometimes, at least a little bit. And you might want to get these users on board. So you maybe want to, make some extra efforts to get iOS users. Again, this is all about context, but just to let you know that you can really like play around this data, and based on that, you can really see where to put your efforts. Then we're coming to the next point, to the next question. How about strategy? We're talking about strategy. So keeping in mind and taking into account all the points that we took from the previous slides, who our users are, whether we're growing in our market or we need to go into another market. And again, like actually another market does not mean that you have to go to just another country. Sometimes it's just open some new services. So based on that, plus we add something that we can learn from this part. I'm going to reveal it soon. You're able to learn like about weak and strong points of your services, of your application, and what you need to improve. And based on all this information, you can come up with a strategy, like what you actually do, which market you're going for, who are the users, I don't know, like how do you plan to approach them, which channels they use. So you can really get this idea about like some basics for your business. So let's look into this. First of all, I want to highlight that because we're going to look at the sessions and the number of sessions, we want to know what is an engaged session, what this term means, because you will see this a lot in these reports. And an engaged session is basically a session that lasts longer than 10 seconds. So if the user opens your application and it spends more than 10 seconds, it means that he was engaged. Even if he left after 11 seconds in your app, he was still engaged. Or maybe he had a conversion event. So if the user, like, I don't know, for example, one of the conversion event for us, for our applications is, as far as I remember, first launch. We will see it later. But if the user launches the app for the first time, it's an engaged session, okay? Even if he spent less than 5 seconds in the app, if he closes it right after, it's an engaged session. And also if he has at least 2 page views or screen views. So I don't know, he gets to the first screen and then he goes to the next screen. Also an engaged session. So the user is engaged as well. Again, even if he spent less than 10 seconds and he didn't like make an order or something. So that's just some basics. Let's go into user engagement. So this is a very important point for you, and you really want to know about your engagement and about how engaged your users are. So first of all, we see here average engagement time. Average engagement time is basically time that an average time that one average user spent for within a certain time period. Okay, so that doesn't mean, of course, that one user spent like 34 minutes within one session within your app. No, but if we're talking about like a month period, for example, it means that an average user spends around 34 minutes in your app within a month, which is not bad, I think. Okay, like not that bad. And we see the number of engaged sessions per user. Again, within a month, one average user spends around 11, like goes around 11 times to your application and has an engaged session, meaning maybe he's trying to order a taxi, or maybe like he's like at least working with his account or whatsoever. And here you don't see it here, but I'm going to tell you what it is. It's the average engagement time per one session per one user. So that means that on average, one user of your application spends a little bit more than 2 minutes within one session. And here, I want to show you like that these numbers are going down on this particular graph, right? So why can it be? And in order to answer like why, we are going back to our very first graph where we had like the number of users and number of new users. We also see the average engagement time here going down. The numbers are slightly different, but yeah, it's just the difference in time period. So we see that we have more new users, but we have the average engagement time is going down, which is actually understandable. And this is not something that should worry you too much when you see this particular picture. If you see that the number of users and new users is going down, it's of course, it's a kind of worrying thing. But in this particular picture, it's not that bad. Why does the average engagement time go down? Well, because we have a number of new users and they didn't actually have enough time to use the application. Or if you launched a campaign and you advertising campaign and you're getting a lot of new users, it can also mean that well, your new users might not be that relevant, which is actually okay. So you should not really worry about that. It's not like such a bad thing, you know. But just as an idea of what might happen, you know. And just for you to remember, when you see a lot of new users and you see that the average engagement time goes down, it's not a bad thing, but you want to involve your new users. You want them to spend more time in your application. And there are so many different ways to do that. You might offer some discounts. Okay, for new users, you might offer some some promo campaigns for them, and I don't know, like offer free rides or discounted rides. That's what you can do. Also, don't forget to use push notifications. This is a great way. Some users, of course, don't use it, but still, some of them do. And this is a great way to engage. On our last session on DATADRIVE, one of our clients said that they are talking about new features. And in my opinion, this is like a great way to engage users, to let them know about all the opportunities that the application provides. So this is something that you can also do. We also have like all the different campaigns, loyalty campaigns, promotion campaigns. Like you can really do this. Coupons are available in the system. Like you can use coupons for your new users. So try to engage them as much as possible. It is actually very important to engage users once they install your app. They need to go there straight away. Otherwise, they will just forget about your existence. So try to catch them as early as it's possible. So this is about engagement. User retention. Another very, very important metric. So what is user retention? It is basically show you the percentage of new users who return each day. So let's say we have like 100 new users. So like on day 28, 2.6 users, of course, like it's like the average number. Of course, it's it does not mean there are 2.6 people here that go to app every day. So they open the app every day. And this is like, can we say this is bad? Not really. It's not that bad. I mean, out of 100 users, it's difficult to expect everyone going to use your app every day. But of course, you want to increase this number. And I cannot like really tell you about what should be the number here. Again, very different. It depends on the area. It depends on the way of living of people you're with. Because I can imagine that, for example, like in Europe, people are using this every day. But somewhere like in other places, they don't use ride-hailing services every day. But you want to have really like a high number. And I checked, I was looking at different partners that we have, and I checked the different numbers that they have here. And the best result I saw was really close to 10% by day 28. So if you have like 10% user retention rate here, it's amazing. Like it's really, really great. But again, don't be too upset that you don't have this number. Just it's really better to compare it with your own results in the previous time period than comparing to someone else. All right, it's about user retention. Then conversions. Conversions is a really important thing, of course. Those are the events that show important actions that users do within your application. Okay, so which conversion events we have here? Session start, each time the user starts session, this is a conversion event. Booking confirmed, when the user confirms the ride, the trip with you. This is very important. And yeah, first open, this is also a very important event for you. So you want to see like when the user opens your app for the first time. So those are basically about conversion events. And we have the number of very different events, really. There are so many of them that we have in our applications. It's quite difficult to really understand. I just want to mention here that we're preparing right now the guide in order for our clients to really make use of the events that we have here, to understand which events they can use for their marketing campaigns, which events will show them some really useful information. And once this guide will be available, I'll get back to you and just let you know that it's there. And then you will be able to see, like, I don't know, basically which button the user clicks, because we have events literally for every button in our application. So this will really give you an idea about how many times, how many users go to this event, go to this button, and you will understand whether they are leaving early or they're using your app. So really different. Then pages and screens. This is another very important metrics that we have here. Again, pages and screens will also be available for this guide about events, because we also have a lot of different screens, and basically each screen that you have in your application is a separate screen and it has a separate meaning. And also analyzing all these different screens, how many users go there, how many users exits these screens, meaning how many users just close the app on this particular screen, can help you and can give you a lot of information about whether your users really like you, whether your users really use your app. Of course, you can get this info from my hub, okay? But to understand at which point they decide, I'm not going to use this app, it's really important. So this is about the pages and screens, and this is just the information that we have a lot of like different pages and screens in Google Analytics for all the different applications, meaning for passenger and driver apps. You'll be able to see views, how many people view, how many, not people, but how many times each screen was viewed, how many users saw this screen, and how much time they spent on each screen. This is something for you to know. An important metric when it comes to screens and pages will be bounce rate. Bounce rate, it shows how many users leave the app without any engagement. So in order to understand that, what are we going to do? So on this report with pages and screens, you just find this button. It's going to be on the upper right corner, which is called customize report. And you go to this report and you just basically customizing it. And you need to look for a dimension to add to your report. And the dimension that you're looking for, like here, sorry, it might not, it's not the dimension, it's metric. It's not the dimension metrics. So the metrics that you're looking for is basically bounce rate. So you are looking for the bounce rate and you choose the bounce rate, and you get your report, and you get the report with the bounce rate for all the screens, for all the different pages. But basically the number of the bounce rate that you're really interested in is the average. So an average like 22.5.6 percent of users, they are leaving your application without any engagement. Is it good or bad? It's not bad. I can tell you it's not bad. It's quite a good number for you. Of course, you want to have bounce rate as low as possible. So if you can like lower it down, amazing. But in general, that's basically it. If you have a high bounce rate, what could it mean? It could mean that, for example, if you launched a campaign, it means that you are targeting wrong users, that they download the app, but they don't expect your app to be the app they downloaded. They expected something else. Okay, that's what the high percent of bounce rate, like 50%, for example, might mean. So you might want to change your strategy, your advertising campaign, your messages within this campaign in order to reduce the bounce rate. Let's go to the next one, exploration reports. Exploration reports, they are not located in the reports. This is a separate tab. You will find it there, and you will have all the different reports here. You can create it from scratch, or you can create like a free form report, you know, or you can have like a final exploration report. Final exploration report is good when, for example, you want to build a funnel of your users going from one event to another, like from like, I don't know, first launch to, you know, actually like confirming the ride and making the ride. That's what you can do with the funnel exploration. Then there is the path exploration. The path exploration is great to know exits from your screens and pages. So let's just take a look at what exploration reports can give you. So first of all, this is the free-form report, and there are all the different types of visualization that you can have here. It can be a donut chart, it can be bubble chart, it can be just a table, whatever, like all the different graphs, just to show you. Let's go to access. I'm going to show you how you can find from which screens your users exit. So first of all, if you go to freeform, if you create a freeform report, first of all, you will need to define the segment. And basically the segment are the users that you want to get the information about. And because I was talking at the very beginning about passengers, and usually you want to know more about passengers, of course, I chose here like how to create the segment of passengers. And basically here, when you like create a new segment, you need to choose the stream, and you choose the stream as the dimension, and then you choose this particular like you will just see the list of the apps again, and you will choose what you need. Here we have passenger Android, and then you need to choose or. Okay, it is important in order to include like passengers of Android and iOS all together. And you can choose iOS passenger app as well. Again, this is just an option. It does not mean that you should do it this way. Maybe you have an issue only with Android users, or you have the issue with iOS users only. So it does not mean that you need to choose this particular segment. You can just choose, I don't know, stream passenger Android, and then you will get the information about passengers that use your Android application. Then the dimensions. What do we need to choose here? We need to choose this specific dimension, which is page title and screen class, that will show you all the different screens that we have. And when it comes to metrics, you are choosing exits. So it's going to show you the number of exits from certain screen that your users make. And when you choose this, so basically that's what you will have on the right side for the setup. So you will have the segment passenger users. In the row, you need to choose page title and screen class. And when it comes to values, you need to choose exits. And that's what you get. You get the free form, which includes all the different page titles and screen classes, the number of exits that users have. And if, for example, you see that your users, I don't know, they, for example, choose when they're like booking a ride, and they kind of chose their drop-off point, and they're kind of almost ready, but they are kind of exit the screen at this point, that means they don't like something. That means that they're using your app, they're kind of looking for a driver, but they just don't confirm the ride. And what could be the other thing here? And that's for you to think about which problem you have. Maybe you have not enough drivers, or your ride is too expensive, or the users just they just check like the price, you know. So it's really different here. And again, this is something for you and your team to gather, to think and brainstorm a little bit. Then this is about like the exits, okay? Here we have another form. I just wanted to give you an example of how you can choose the city to grow in. For example, if you're operating in different cities, and you want to see, like, you are not sure where to put more efforts in which particular city, here the bubble chart visualization can help you. And what do I have here? Again, when it comes to setup, we define passenger users. When it comes to breakdowns, this is something that you will see. It's going to be the city. You want to break down by city. And here in sessions, in y-axis you choose sessions, and in x-axis you can choose conversions. So basically you will see the maximum, like from which cities the users make most of the sessions and most of the conversions. Okay, and that's what we have. Like, that's basically the graph that we have here. And we see that most of the conversions and most of the sessions take users from Kampala and Rhodes. Okay, so like here you're doing quite well. So if you're choosing the city where you need to focus on and put more efforts, it can be Campo Grande. Actually, it's just in the middle, meaning that you have some users there, meaning they use your service, but it's just not enough, and you want to increase this. So you can choose Campo Grande based on this graph, and you can, I don't know, launch a campaign there, for example, attracting new users or trying to stimulate your current users from there to use your application more often. Here it can also be Brasilia. We see some, you know, like the beginning, something is happening there. So maybe maybe the users from Brasilia can also help you and can also like be the next city to grow. So that's how you can use free reports. Let's go to path exploration reports. So as I said, something that you can really see how many like users exit, sorry, not about exits, but about the path, actually how they use your application. You can also see exits from there, but how they use from your application, from which screen they start, which actions they do, like where do they go, what they basically do with your app. This is something that is also very, very important to know. Here in the node type, you will see all the different stuff like event name, page title and screen class, page path, etc. So all the different dimensions. Then breakdown, you might want to break down by country. It is not necessary. You might want to break down by city, whatever you choose. It does not really important here. It's up to you. And values, the event count, how many events happened. So that's something that you choose, and you might get this report. You have all the different steps. The starting point will be the event name, but also like you will have all the different steps here. Step 1, step 2, you can add more steps. It does not mean you have to stop at step 2. Okay, so here you have like the first event, session start. Obviously they all start with this event, and then you might choose like, again, page title and screen class, and you see users are going to different screens, and that's like what they do. Then you have the next step, like from this particular screen, they are going they're doing this particular event. Either they like receive notification, or I don't know, like they I don't know, another event that you can see here is booking confirm. Maybe they confirm their booking already. So it's like, it's really, really different. And here you can just create a lot of different steps, and you can focus on different users and see really their path, how many users go there. And it will just give you an understanding about how users actually use your app. And here I just wanted to highlight, if you want to break down your path exploration by country, for example, you can highlight how users in a specific country behave themselves. Okay, so it's just something for you to know how you can use this path exploration report. We're getting closer. So it's going to be like the last thing we are talking, like the last question is about what? It's all about basically what you're going to do. Like, so you checked all the information, you understand what your strong points are, what your weak points are, who your users are. And with that, you can come up with the tactics, which channels to use to bring more users to your app, because you understand by this point where your audience is, which channels they use again, and how to track these channels. This is something that Google can help you with, and Google Analytics will answer these questions. So let's go. I want to get back to gender interests again to highlight this, because when you define the channels to use, it is really important to understand where your users are, which channels they might use. Either they like, again, go into shopping centers or they do something else. So this is really important when you define the channels and when you define actually the campaign, how you're going to attract your users, which messages you want to deliver. So just to highlight this, user acquisition. This is another big part of the Google Analytics reports, basically to understand where your users are coming from and how good they are. So you see all the different options that Google has. Organic search, meaning they did like some organic search in app stores and they found your app and they downloaded it. There is the display option. Display meaning it's also pay-per-click campaigns, which use like different banners. Direct, they just, for example, got the link to your application and they go to the app store directly to your app and they download the app. Or it might be the paid search, like again, like I don't know, like search campaigns, for example, in Google or whatsoever. Mobile push notifications, it's about Firebase and how many like actually users. You'll not see new users there, of course, because if your users get push notifications, they already have your app. Organic social is the users that you get from different social networks like Facebook. You make posts on Instagram, etc., on Twitter. You get these users from there. And unassigned means sometimes for Google, it's difficult to assign certain users to a certain channel. So they go to unassigned section, but it's really not a lot. What do you want to see from here? What do you want to see from this particular report? You want to see the engagement rate. You want to see how engaged users from a certain channel are. So for example, here we can see that the most engaged users we get from organic social. And we can imagine that probably, yes, it makes a lot of sense. If the users, they have your app, because we see no new users, so they have your application and they they just see your publications, they follow you on Instagram or on Facebook, they will be engaged most likely because they already follow you. But we also can see, and we can say that actually for the paid search is on the second place when it comes to engagement. We can say that these users, that you really chose the wise strategy to get them, and the campaign that you launched in your like in Google or in Facebook, wherever you did this, it's doing quite well, because you can see both for display and for paid search, the numbers are really high. So this is really good. So the message that you chose for your campaign, it's very relevant to users. They understand what they download and they are ready to engage with the app. So it's really, really important for you to see this engagement rate for different channels. And yeah, So you can just really, when you defined the audience, when you define the channels to use, you can really track these channels and your campaigns as well. So audiences, I want to highlight this also when it comes to the tactics and channels to use. We want to talk about audiences, okay? It is really important. Audiences can be used for your advertising in many different ways. So first of all, based on your active users, you can find new users like that. So how does it work? You create an audience based on the most active users that you have. You put this audience, you have this audience in Google Ads. If you connect the Google Ads to Google Analytics, you have this audience there. And you can launch a campaign, like lookalike campaign, for example, based on these most active users. And Google Ads, because it works with AI, like it does all this, artificial intelligence and machine learning whatsoever, it does help you to find other users, new users that will behave similarly to your most active users, meaning they will most likely use your application. They will go for more rides with you. So that's what you can do with the audiences. How do you do that? How do you create the audience? Basically, you go to the admin section here and you see the audiences here, this tab here, and you need to create a new audience, basically. You choose starting from scratch. It's the best thing that you can do because Google will offer you different options based on like different events. But because we have so many different events, and Google Analytics is not that aware of our custom events, so it's better to start from scratch. So you create a custom audience, and you might include users. If you are talking about like the active audience, it might be the user that are going for booking confirmed, who confirm their rights with you. And you might want to see those users more, and you choose when it comes to like the event, you looking for the events and you're choosing booking confirmed event. And here you need to add the parameter. And when it comes to the parameter that you add, you might want to use event count. And for example, you choose the event count like more than 3. So all the users that confirmed booking more than 3 times within a certain time period, they will go to this audience, okay? And you might want to choose like the city they are coming from, for example. Like here I chose London and Palmas. You choose your cities where you have your active audience, for example, okay? And you get basically the audience which made booking, which confirmed their rights with you more than 3 times, and they're either from London or from Palmas, for example. And you get this audience, and then you send this audience to, you can send this audience to Firebase, and actually like you will see this audience in Firebase. And for example, you can send push notifications to this audience to, I don't know, like say thank you for how loyal they are, and like provide some additional coupon, or I don't know, like to wake them up a little bit or whatsoever, like whatever. It depends on you. Like all the ideas that you have, you can just really make them happen. And you can send them push notifications. And here actually I'm just showing you the screen from Firebase with the audience, with all the different audience that you have here. And here there is no need for you, like if you use Firebase and you don't want to, like go to Google Analytics for creating a new audience, you can create a new audience in Firebase. And basically the audience that you will create in Firebase will be the same audience that you will create in Google Analytics. Again, you see this logo here. It means that Firebase uses Google Analytics data. So that's something you can do in Firebase as well. And here, just show you where you can find it in Google Ads. You just go to like Audience Manager, and there you will see a list of the audiences that you have. So that's it. Just a bit more, like we're actually coming to the end, and this is like the end of the session. Just to add a little bit more, don't afraid to play with the data and use it the way you want. Use all the different filters to filter users based on specific criteria, based on age, gender, where they're based, like their interests. Try to find, try to play around all these different filters. Compare audiences based, again, compare different categories of users, their behavior, how engaged they are, how many users of a certain category you got, or compare time periods. It's really important. Again, coming back to the point that you cannot really find like numbers set in stone that will tell you are doing all right. You don't know this. Like, you cannot compare you and your, I don't know, like another company from another country, because you will be different. All right. So the best way to track the progress is to compare different time periods. Experiment as much as you want with all the different configurations. And yeah, do the magic. Gather with your team, brainstorm, ask questions, answer them. I don't know, generate a lot of different ideas based on the data that you have. So find your weak points and make them strong points, and like work on them. And yeah, just do whatever like you can do with the data you have here. Just don't be afraid to use it and play around this data as much as you want. So yeah, that's basically it. We covered quite a lot of things on Google Analytics. I wish you good luck with analyzing, and I'm ready for your questions. Feel free to ask any questions if you have any. So you will, of course, get the recording of the session. You will get the presentation. Thank you, Paulina. Yeah, it's difficult. It's a difficult topic initially. Okay, once you start really work with Google Analytics, it's quite easy. It's in my opinion, it's not a rocket science. It's quite like easy, and it's based on the logic. Okay, so if you have a problem and you understand that you need to get some data on this problem, you just think about, all right, this is the problem that I have with the application, with this application, with these users involved, with, I don't know, like of this gender, of this age, at this city, and you just try to look at everything. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. If anyone else, does anyone have any questions? If not, I'm gonna like call it a day. And yeah, don't forget to raise your hands if you have any questions, or put your message in the chat. But I don't see anyone. So no questions. Okay, then we call it a day. And as I said, the recording and the presentation will be available to you. I will send it this week. Thank you so much, guys, for being here. Thanks a lot for your time. Yes, have a good day. Have a good evening, everyone. It was a pleasure to see you here, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the day. Goodbye.